Welcome back to your Networth's Network. I'm your host, Corey McNabb, and this is a networking style podcast where we bring up special guests, we learn about them, learn about their business, and figure out how we can all work together. My goal in life is to rise to a place of excellence, and I want to bring you with me. So, that being said, let's bring up our special guest, Mr. Layne Anderson.
How's it
What's going
going?
on? How you been,
Not a
man?
whole lot, man. Doing good, doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. So I know we've talked a few times, but for the audience, why don't you give us a little bit about yourself?
Well, hey guys, my name is Layne. I am from Iowa, Kansas, but we're based out of Kansas City, Missouri right now. It's where the business is happening. I do Avenue Solutions disposition. I raise capital and just also kind of network with anybody that I can and see where I can connect the dots to help me help you, and kind of, as Corey said, all of us work together and make a lot of money while doing it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you do dispositions and capital raising.
Yes, sir.
How did you get into that? Slash, how long have you done that?
So I got into real estate as an industry in December. I've been in dispositions ever since. The CEO of our business, Roman Katz, who's also in Sub2 and has um, done quite a few amazing things in the community and outside. But him and I worked together in high school since we were 16, and kind of always talked about working together outside of school. But he went and got his realtor's license as soon as he turned 18, and I kind of had to go to college. My mom was a teacher, her mom was a teacher, my dad was military, so it was just very old school. You know what I mean? There wasn't really a whole lot of option that I had. It was kind of, this is what you're gonna do. And so after I was in community college first semester and university first semester, and just had a lot of fun, but didn't really get anything productive done. And kind of just decided it really wasn't the place for me. Dropped out. Reached out to Roman. He was actually right then and there needing somebody to come in and fill the disposition spot to be able to build that side of the business, because he wanted to start building an acquisitions team. So now we've got a team of about 15 people, including some overseas VAs, and I've been the disposition manager the whole time. And so, I just get to kind of sit on the back end and let everybody else, help each other on the front end and just get their deals sold. So I've stayed there for about 9 months now. And then on the raising capital side of things, I've raised 400 grand for deals this year, just with some private money lenders, friends, family, kind of all of the above, between like gap funding and even some more long-term deals. Like one deal, I raised 40 grand, 20 grand for the purchasers of creative, and then 20 grand for the reconfiguration to turn it into a 9-bedroom pad split. And so just for raising that capital, it was kind of an urgent thing. So I was able to kind of leverage my way to get like 40% equity and 40% of the cash flow of that property. So that's now in the portfolio for myself. And yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, the introduction to how I got into everything, just knowing Roman. And then, it's really kind of just been, growth ever since then between networking events. I know you and I met at Squad Up, and that was a huge turning point, not only for me, but, our business as a whole. I know that really kind of opened our eyes to the value of networking, but then also just, taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, right? You never know who that person knows. You never know what that person knows. So to look at someone and judge them based off your first impression and kind of invalidate the fact that they may know way more than you just because they appear a certain way is just such a crazy thing. And I think it's you're doing yourself a disservice if you walk and live that way.
Yeah. So I want to bring up the fact, because I don't know if our audience caught it. You were in college at 18?
Yeah, so I actually graduated high school early because I didn't want to be in school so bad. And so I graduated December of 2022, but I was technically class of 23. I walked with my guys. Pale is, like I said, small town. So my best friends my senior year were the same kids I went to preschool with. So, I had to walk with my class in May of 2023. So that was when I graduated. But I had already done my semester at community college, and was getting ready to go into university. And so I went to Pitt State University for a semester, rushed to frat, and, like I said, had a lot of fun, but That was the one point in my life from like 3 years prior that I wasn't working. Like I said, I had a job as soon as I turned 15. I actually had two jobs as soon as I was able to. I worked as a lifeguard and I worked at Sonic. And so, yeah, I mean, I always kind of from the get-go knew that I wasn't going to take a normal job approach. And then I did work like a sales job at the Buckle for a little bit. Sales, if you want to, really consider it that. And it kind of it's more customer service type thing, but there is a lot of the principles they teach you that translate really well. But yeah, I know. I think at that point I was given a leadership position in the store, and I really just enjoyed, being able to kind of have an influence over like my peers and to be able to, I guess, make an impact in their performance and help make them more money because it was kind of commission based there as well. But yeah, no, I dropped out and I haven't looked back since. Alex Ramosey's a big guy that I look up to, and he's from the get-go, he was one of those guys that I watched a ton of his videos when I first got started out, just because he's very relatable. He makes it very easy to feel like everything that you're going through is normal and valid, and just like really make you kind of want to keep working towards your goals, even if it feels like if everyone around you feels like you're insane, right? And that's a portion of like entrepreneurship that I think a lot of people know is there, but don't really fully understand until they're in it. And it's cool to kind of get to. I mean, it's almost like going to the gym in a sense. Like you get to break down your muscles and then go drink the protein shake and build it back up. And in this sense, it's just going through literal adversity in your life and being able to overcome those and then build a business alongside it and learn all these amazing things that like even your peers in college have no clue what it is. And so, yeah, it's I'm very, very, very blessed to say the least. And I mean, I got to give all glory to God. There's no way that this all just happens by chance. I'm a huge believer in everything happens for a reason. I mean, even down to me and you being on the podcast today, I think there's always going to be something great to come of whatever you're going through. So I think a lot of people just got to look at everything with a more positive mindset, man.
Yeah. No, that's good. But what I really want people to grasp is that, guys, he was in college. He dropped out. This was December. His buddy, hires him on, and now he's crushing it. Okay, so, and I'm speaking to a part of myself just as much as whoever's sitting there watching this. Take more action. Do more. Okay, but do the right things. Don't just do random crap.
That's valid. Yes.
Before.
That was another kind of piece of what we talked about, something in one of our morning meetings the other day. We always have to do like a daily gratitude, and one of them, somebody said, I'm just grateful that everybody on our team like feels the initiative to go take action every single day. We're not just sitting around talking about these things, and that's really the difference. And I think a lot of people's journeys is you sit around and buy courses and think about doing it and try and learn about doing it before you really go and try, or do you learn a little bit, try and apply it, and go try and fail and then do it the right way? And we kind of refer to that as failing forward. That's a big term you hear in our office all the time, is there's no losses, we just fail forward.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I want to ask, you jumped from, we can make it sound really bad, being a dropout,
right, to
dispositions manager. Your first real stint into real estate, and you start out as a manager. What have you learned since that point? And is there anything you wish you had known when you started?
Well, that's the funny thing about my position still, kind of, is I'm like the only one in our company, in our office. We actually share an office with another company called Ballpoint Property Solutions. And they're a pretty similar business to us, but they are more focused just in Kansas City and cash deals rather than, all over US and creative as well. And so I do the dispositions for both companies in that office, but I don't have a team. I don't have a VA. It's just me. And so the manager side of things hasn't really kicked in yet. That's kind of the next phase that we're looking at. We're really looking to kind of systemize and scale the dispo, just because we've seen so much volume recently. And so I know we're training a couple of VAs in the background right now. And then ideally, I think within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll have our first agent or something under me. but yeah, that's not to say, there's not a lot of management type things that are done from, my day-to-day work. You've got to manage all the different deals in your pipeline. You've got to manage all these, different contacts, all these buyers. And really, that's the biggest thing about it is, being a manager, you have to be able to, get your point across to the people that you're working with without letting their emotions come into play and without, I guess, creating any sort of like negative tension, if that makes sense. There's a certain like way that you have to speak to people, a certain verbiage as a leader that you have to use to be able to, you get what I'm trying to say, I guess. But yeah, no, I think my position is really cool because I very, very much get to pick and choose who I want to work with. I am not pulling a list off PropStream and cold calling every single number on there. It's okay, I'm gonna have a conversation with you. If I don't like you and I don't think that you're doing a lot of business and I think you might be sketchy to work with, I don't ever have to talk to you again. But on the other side of that, if I meet someone and they are, super cool person, super easy to work with, they communicate great, they're buying 10 houses a month, they've got $10 million of capital just sitting there, so I know that I'm not gonna have to worry about them being able to close. Like that to me is who I want to work with. Now that's not to say that we don't work with tons and tons and tons of new people, getting them started. We love helping people. That's really our biggest thing is we want to get new wholesalers involved. We want guys who are trying to learn wholesaling to come to us rather than going and buying that $10,000 sub two. Is definitely not what I was getting ready to reference, but the sub two is more than just the course. There's that whole value in the community and all of these things, but basically, I mean, I think a lot of people just see TikTok and all these gurus and things like that, and just think it's a little bit easier than it is. And we're trying to kind of, I guess, destroy that false narrative, but still create an alternative platform and group for people to be able to go to and say like, "Hey, this is what's wrong," and we can kind of give you the solution to that. But then to circle back to what you said, go take action. If I spend an hour on the phone with you, 2 hours on the phone with you, that's 2 hours out of my day I could have been working, but for me, if I'm pouring into you, investing in you as someone who could potentially be a partner of mine or someone on our team later down the road, that's perfectly fine for me because that's going to help the business. But if I give you all these resources and all these tools and all of this advice, and all you do is still go sit around and do whatever, and you're still just like coming and moping to me about your situation, it's like I can't really help you. You know what I mean? And so I think to kind of like circle back and try to really answer your question in depth, anything that I wish I would have known, when I first started, um, to be totally honest, man, like I said, I came out of college and I was in a fraternity and I was like appointed recruitment officer within the first semester I was there. So there was a level of like, that frat boy, like kind of douchebag almost vibe that I was kind of carrying. And that wasn't, looking back on it, it's almost like kind of makes me sick to my stomach to think about it. And it's so, I think one,
It's called getting older.
yeah, definitely. And that's growing up. And I mean, I'm still only 19. So it's like, I'm sure there's little things about me still to this day that I don't even fully understand that are going to change. And, I'm going to look back on and be like, oh my God. But I mean, really, I think the biggest thing for me is just, I woke up every day at the first like 3-4 months of this and just kind of, I was obviously grateful for the opportunities that are in front of me, and I was excited to go to work because it was more what I wanted to do, but I wasn't fully grasping the reality of how lucky I was. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing, bro, is you can work as much as you want and you can read as much as you want and you can study as much as you want, but if you don't have like the internal mindset of, I'm here because I'm supposed to be and I can do this, that's everything in this business is so much mindset oriented that if you just wake up, look around you, find something to be grateful for, go to work and try your best, and then at the end of the day, review yourself on, did I actually do the best? And if not, try harder the next day. Like there's no way you can fail, because to me, it's once you know that you are the creator of your fate. I mean, there's no other external force that can affect that, because at the end of the day, everything is your own fault. So everything happens because you put it into place. And so that, I think, to me as disposition manager, being the only person in that role, it is all the responsibility on me. If the deal doesn't get sold, there's no excuses other than the fact that I didn't work hard enough on that deal or extract enough feedback from my buyers to be able to bring back to my hack team to get that reduction. It's not, I can't point fingers that, this agent didn't make that call or this VA isn't present or, this system's not working, because right now it's just pick up the phone, build a relationship, sell the house. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And so I think it's given me a lot of, it's kind of given me a different perspective in the sense that, I feel like I have a lot more self-awareness for the things that I'm responsible for. And it has kind of helped me grow a lot, as, building a business does for anybody. But to, I think, kind of just answer that final part of like anything that I wish I would have known, it's a repetitions game, and it's a volume game. You could have all the natural skill in the world, but if you're not putting in the time and the work, you're not going to get the same result as the guy that's on the phone 100 hours a week. So that's my long version of the answer to that question.
There you go. There you go. So we've kind of caught up, and it makes it really easy since you're so young, you're so new to it. It's really easy to get your backstory on it. Where you go from here? What is your year goal look like? 5-year goal look like? And then ultimately, do you have an idea of your end of life goal? Like, what do you want to achieve?
So this is the part where you have these conversations with like your family and things like that, and then that's when the laughs and the delusionals and like those things kind of start to come out, just because dream bigger, you know what I mean? I think this is something my team and I have talked about a lot too, because we haven't ever done the whole exercise of really put this on paper and kind of scale it back to, what steps do I need to take on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to actually achieve these goals. But I will say, like, I think for me, my biggest thing with goals is I have goals in terms of like what I want my net worth to look like by like certain gaps in my life. And so I know one of my big things was always I wanted to be worth $1 million by the time I was 21. So whether it's before or really just before I turned 22, I wanted to be a millionaire. So that was one piece of it. And then I really, really, really just loved Drake, like my whole like high school career listening to it. So I don't know if you know 25 sitting on 25 mil. And so that was always another one of those things that I was like, damn, that just, I don't know why, but just hearing that just kind of engraved that in my head. So that's to get a 5.5, because I'll turn 25 in December of whatever year that would be. I don't even want to do that math. 2029, I think. And so want to be worth 25 million at that point. Then yeah, long term. And at this point, I don't really care how long it takes to get to it, just because I think it's inevitable when I see like the growth and the volume and like the opportunities that are put in front of us as a team and also as an individual every single day. But yeah, I mean, I think a billion is really like the long-term goal. And then kind of think about the whole like Grant Cardone approach to that is like, oh, well, when you hit 1, then you want 10, then you want 100. And so it's like, at that point, I think once you hit a B, it's like you have everything that you could really ever need. And so it's just like, it's like a game at that point. And so I think for me, it's like I want to hit that for myself, but then really, I want my family, whether that's my current family, my immediate with like my siblings, or because I'm the oldest of 3 siblings too, and so both my younger siblings are still in high school. My little brother wants to do HVAC, and my sister wants to be a marine biologist right now, but she's 12, so who knows? But like my little sister is so similar to me in the sense of like our personality, and just like I can kind of tell like her mindset at such a young age, which is so crazy to me. And so I even like made the joke to her. I was like, when you graduate high school, if I paid you like $100,000 at graduation, like would you just come work for me instead of going to school? And so I think really like that's the biggest thing, is just kind of recreating what the legacy of my family is as a whole. But then also, that obviously financial freedom, generational wealth, things like that. You want to be able to pass things down to, all of these things. And I touched on my mom's a teacher, so she's been working her ass off for me and my siblings and my family for the last 25 years. And I'm sure you understand how, you know, unfair the education system can be. Um, and then with having a dad in the military, you know, there's times where she's taking care of three kids and then going and waking up and working all day with a bunch of kindergarteners. And so, I mean, it's always been a big thing for me to, I really want to be able to like retire her at least before she's 50. Um, and she's still got some time. She's like mid 40s right now. So, I definitely think I'm going to be able to do that. But yeah, so I guess those are kind of a few of my whys, but to touch on like the timeline and the goals, I mean, in a year, I really want to, I think, be to a point where I'm like consistently getting, I think a year from now, consistently six figures a month is really probably the goal. And that's just like my businesses. I think probably net, honestly, I think would be the goal because I don't think that's unrealistic as we kind of are starting to already talk about building out a team. Um, and I hate talking about how much money we make as a business and how much money we make on an independent basis because like some of my friends that are in high school and like people like that will always ask like, oh, are you actually making money? And it's like, no, yeah, I just go and do all this stuff for free every day. You know what I mean? But if that's part of it, that's a phase of it. But yeah,
So there was a little mental block there.
yeah, yeah.
And you get it. It's a common one for most people. Most people don't like to talk about money.
No, yeah. It's well, because I think it too, it's especially as a wholesaler, it's a weird question to answer. You know, because there's not really a check coming in at the end of them. And it may be different with your guys' business. And that's part of like, as we're still building things up, like payroll is something that you kind of have to figure out. And so, um, everything, like we document everything. It's not like we're doing anything sketchy or out of the table, like anything like that. But, I would say like, when you have, let's say, like you have a deal that's supposed to close at the end of the week, and then next day, and this is happening right now, and then they're like, oh well, the title company didn't notice that they bought it on foreclosure, so now it has to go through a quiet title process. So now it might not close until another 6 months from now, and so it's not necessarily that you don't know what's going on or know how many deals are going or what you're going to get paid. It's just that you may have projected that you were going to make this much, but then it gets moved back. So then this month you were supposed to do, and it's just a teeter totter, bro. And then you start to talk about okay, and then you're investing on the side and then you're raising capital on the side. So then you have all these different streams of income, plus like who knows what else you may be investing in and like stocks and whatever. And so yeah, it's just I think more than it's like an uncomfortable thing to answer, it's just you really don't know the answer, right? Um, and so that's just one of those things for me that's always been just kind of like funny because I feel like quite a few people it's like one or the other. You either really don't like to talk about it or you really love to talk about how much money you make, especially in like this industry and entrepreneurship as a whole. And that's definitely something funny that I've kind of noticed, which was also kind of a mindset shift that I had from, start point to now is what are you actually doing this for? Is it the yacht, the Bugatti, the money and the girls, or is it to take care of your family and to do good in the world and to, break your family's legacy of everybody going to school and getting a degree and working that job for the rest of their life and hating it. So I don't know. That's again, probably a very complicated way to answer what your question was. I'll go
No,
off on tangents like that, man. It's funny.
you actually bring up something interesting because as I've been thinking about this, I know you don't know this, Layne, because it's being recorded right now, but this is actually the 30th episode of our podcast.
Oh wow.
And it's taken 30 episodes for me to really start actually thinking about the content of my podcast.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this podcast is called Your Net Worth's Network. And I had this idea. I don't know if it'll take off, if it's a good thing to put in or not. But since it's Your Net Worth's Network, should we not talk about our net worth?
You definitely should.
Right? So, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, do you know your net worth, like the number?
That's kind of funny that you asked that because I did kind of look into it and calculate it last week actually. Over the weekend I have I'm not gonna lie. When I was young, I mentioned I worked a lot. So I did have money for my age, but I worked at a store, and so I spent like all of it. And so yeah, from high school, I can when I dropped out, I was negative money, and still owed money on a credit card and auto loan or whatever, and we got all of these things taken care of. And so yeah, I did kind of calculate, I guess, what you could consider my net worth, and it's weird too because I do own some real estate, but then it's property that we've, let's say, like had appraised, and so we know the value of it, but then we refi it out to do like a burr, and so technically on a legal document it is like a liability, but
Mhm.
then when you look at it from like a realistic standpoint, like I'm not the one that's going to pay that mortgage payment every month. I'm not the one that's making the taxes and insurance payments. That's the tenant, and so even more so, I just raised the capital on the deal and snuck myself equity. I'm not even property managing on this, and so for me, so it is just equity. It is just value. It's worth, right? And so yeah, it's above six figures. I'll say that it's nothing. It's like right above like 100 grand ish, and that's between. I own about 20 different assets in the stock market, and I mean I have a car and then some real estate too. But yeah, other than that, it's hasn't been nothing too crazy. I know the business is worth a lot right now, and my name's not technically on the LLC yet, so that doesn't really like directly correlate to me. But I have an LLC with one of my with actually my dad, because him and I've done some investing on the side, and then that's kind of the next step with dispositions too, is to really scale that out and kind of build a whole business out of that is then kind of tied under the Avenue Solutions umbrella. Um, just like all the other little side businesses that we're wanting to build out within Avenue. And for me, yeah, it's like 120 or something like that. Yeah,
Nice, dude.
yeah.
Well, I'll put it this way. I turn 30 next month.
Oh, I didn't. I feel like I always forget that you're like not old, but that much older than I am, because I feel like you just carry that young energy. You just seem
Oh,
so like,
I appreciate that.
so you're welcome.
Um, but no, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Since this is the first time we're doing it, obviously, I actually just had to double check mine. Um, you're farther ahead than I am. All right,
Okay.
by quite a bit. So this is actually it's good because right when you surround yourself with people of a higher net worth, yours is naturally going to go up. So I'm glad I'm going to keep adding this because right now my net worth, and this is not just mine, it's my whole family's. Because right now my wife, she's a housewife, that stay at home mom, stay at home wife, whatever
Yeah.
you call it. Um, so all of us, we come out to uh, just over 7,600 is our net worth.
Oh,
So for the most part, like for honestly, and that's been within the last year.
okay.
Before that, we were in the negative. That was
Okay.
mainly mortgage and all that stuff. But we've built enough equity in the house we own now that now we're positive. But my goal is to obviously get that up and get it closer to your level where you're at now.
Well,
Keep
yeah,
going.
I don't know. That's the thing, is like there's no net worth's funny, right? I mean, it's there, but it's like, it's not doing anything. I can't go spend that on a car right now if
Right.
I wanted to. But yeah,
So
no,
is
it's
that
it's
just
security.
yeah, is that just your so for the real estate side of it, is that just your equity versus like the what you
So
owe?
yeah, that was kind of what I was trying to, I guess, loop back to, is like, if you because we did own the property when we bought it, and so we did have like an amount of equity in it. But since we refied it, I don't actually know like what percentage of equity we hold. But when I ran the numbers of what the value that my LLC that has equity in the property was, it did apply to like my net worth, and so that was kind of where I got that
Gotcha.
number. Yes. So that's what I'm saying, is I honestly really don't know. But yeah, that's at point of purchase with that property. on my side of things, yeah, that was the amount of equity we had. And so that was between like the one property and then, like I said, yeah, just all the other like assets and things that we kind of have in the background. And I don't know, like if my parents have stuff for me too somewhere that may kind of affect that I really don't know. That's kind of just the main
But
few
as of right
accounts.
now, that's where you're
Right,
standing.
right, 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 right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's all good, bro. I get it. Well, awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna add that. I think that's cool. It's good for me to know.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to now someone who has that mentality of, oh, I need to surround myself with people who have a higher net worth than me, they now feel comfortable reaching out to you instead of, not that I think anybody would say this, but instead of being like, oh, he's 19 years old, what does he know, blah blah, you were actually showing results.
You get that a lot though. I
Oh,
mean, that's actually that's kind of how we ended up in wholesaling. Was Roman started out as a realtor, he got his realtor's license, and at 18, when you have to disclose those things and tell everybody, yes, I'm an 18-year-old, I want to buy a house. Nobody really wants to sell their house to an 18. If you ever met Roman, I mean, he could pass as a 30-year-old man. So to him, that's very frustrating because he goes and wholesales and everybody takes him a lot more seriously because he knows about creative finance and knows about sub two and is very knowledgeable in that space. And I mean, I don't think our company would slightly be where it's at without Roman. I mean, he's CEO, so obviously, right? But just the level of like coaching and like daily impact that he has on our entire team on office, just the energy he brings is so awesome. And so, yeah, I think our age when we kind of first started, because our whole team is like 19. The oldest guy on our team is 20, and that's Cohen. And he's out of California, which our COO is just as impactful as Roman. Um, and so it was funny because at first, that was one of those things where like, let's not really tell people we're young. Let's just kind of, go, and obviously they'll understand that we're young, but maybe not realize that we're like borderline, like still teenagers. You know what I mean? And so then and it squad up really is kind of what that turning point for us was because we met Vina Jetty's PR lady Sangeeta, and she kind of was just like, yeah, I've been hearing your guys' name. There's some buzz around you. You guys are doing these really cool things, and we want to learn more about you guys and talk more with you guys. And so she actually got us on Vina's podcast, and so we got to talk with Vina for a couple of hours, and that was super awesome. And we still work with her a little bit. We're trying to get some other collaboration opportunities going with them. We really want to have Vina come and speak at one of our events down here. But I mean, Vina is just super crazy busy all the time, so it's hard to try and get that. But yeah, I mean, now it's kind of one of those things that we walk into a networking event and people turn heads when they see 19-year-olds walk in the door, and then when we start having conversations and talking about what we're actually doing, and they start to realize like, okay, these guys, like, not to say that we're the most knowledgeable people in the space by any means, because we still probably really have no clue what we're doing. But they start to hear that we do kind of have a clue of what's going on. And, we are getting deals done and like systemizing things and actually, building a business under this thing rather than just throwing some contracts around at people because we saw it on TikTok. Like, and then there's like a level of respect for that, and they see us compared to what the norm is for our generation, and they're like, damn, I want to pour into this, I want to invest in this, I want to help. And then especially on my side of things, like with my buyers, I've mentioned a few times now, like it's so important to build relationships, especially on the disposition side of things, because if I have a buyer that's buying 9 houses in the hood a month, I want to be able to text him and say, hey, here's this, now I don't even have to market the property, I just texted him. And so I'll spend a few days a week, I'll get lunch or dinner or coffee or something with any of my clients, and that's kind of become a more normal thing for the guys on our team. And with us being able to just take time out of our day to build those relationships, we've seen a lot of benefit in it. Just because we have people bring us opportunities because they know that we're open to working more. We've got a guy that's a private money lender who's got like 15 mil just strapped and ready to go, but he's like, yeah, I want to give you guys 100 leads to foster every month because I know that you guys are like working so hard on getting these deals done. And so it's just it speaks volumes for sure to just I think be yourself and not like have those insecurities of like my age or the way that I look or talk or sound or whatever. And at the end of the day, like, people are going to have their opinion of you regardless. And if you're trying to be like this high level person, everybody's going to have a different opinion, and you're going to have an influence whether you like it or not. And so it's very much your choice to decide what that is. And I think it's cool to have the opportunity to be a 19-year-old and like be able to be on the same level as some of these super high level businessmen that have done it the traditional way. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was in their shoes too, I'd be pissed off. But we're super lucky and super fortunate to be born in the time that we are, and to not take advantage of that, I think, is just so crazy. And I think to like keep going to college and things like that, and go spend, put yourself in 6 figures of debt just to learn the same thing that you could with a $50 course on Google. It's like, the world's just a different place than when that system was kind of established,
Yeah. So you said something that made me think, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, but it's not bad to reiterate it.
Sure.
So I see you've got the cross on your neck.
Yes, sir.
You had mentioned you got to thank God. I don't know how familiar with like the Old Testament or anything that you are, but obviously when the Jewish people talked about God, one, they couldn't say his name. That was one of their things, right? But they could write it down, and they wrote it down with consonants, right? YHWH. What we know is Yahweh, right? There's a theory that the way you pronounce the name is actually your inhale and exhale. So it's your breath, right?
Interesting.
You can't dictate the name because the name is your breath, right? So that brings me to one of the commandments. Should not use God's name in vain, right? At the most basic level, that may be, not saying GD or not using, whatever, right?
Right.
But my thinking is, if the name of God is your breath, it's not so much that you have to use it in vain. Actually, vain. I'm trying to remember the definition of it. To use something in vain is actually basically to not use it to its fullest ability, to not or to be weak about it, something like that.
Yeah. I have. Yeah, I've looked it up. I think I've looked it up before too, because I've been through confirmation and I was baptized and all those things, and that was a long time ago. So I think a lot of that knowledge that I did have at one point is probably not quite as much there. But yeah, as a young kid, I was super involved with like youth group and went to Kentucky Appalachian Mountains to do like mission trip at one point. My church used to go to Haiti every year to build wells and stuff like that. They actually still do. But yeah, I do try to like still keep myself in the scripture and things like that. I'm really, really bad about reading. Reading just in general is just something that I've always like. I don't know. I have like probably some of like the most like strong like ADHD of like anybody I've ever met. And so for me, just sitting down and like reading a book is like a near impossible task. And so I have
It's
like on my
interesting
Mac.
you say that, and this is not what I was trying to get into, but
Sure.
You're struggling to sit and read.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason, and it also kind of makes sense as to why Jesus says that the scripture is in your heart, not written down.
Right. Yes.
So it's okay to read the scriptures, or what we consider scriptures. Really, it's the Bible, right? Technically, get historical. Our current Bible is not the scriptures. The first 5 books of the Old Testament is the scriptures. Then you got prophet sayings, and then other things. Anyways, that's a whole conversation for another time. What I'm trying to get at is using God's name in vain. If it's your breath, to me, that sounds like God is telling us to live our life to the fullest and not to waste our potential.
Yeah.
So that you had said something about if you're in the realm, in the time that we're living in, having all these resources available to us, not utilizing them is just silly. And that's what made me think of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was sorry to like read that all off topic and go crazy on that one, but yeah, no,
Dude,
I agree, and because that's something I'm kind of passionate about too. I think a lot of people, especially growing up in like a small town like I did, a lot of people have the same plans that their parents did just because that's what's been taught to them, or think that that's the only thing that they're built to do. I mean, even some of my best friends still to this day that you know and you'll hear some guys say you got to cut those people off. Those are negative influences in your life. They're holding you back. And I'm a loyalty is a big thing. And if I've been through a certain amount of shit with somebody, and then them with me, that's my brother. And so I can't leave family like that in the dust, regardless of what their mindset may be, if that's that type of person to me. But that's not to say I think a lot of people do just have a very fixed mindset in that regard, and it's hard for me to understand. And I think not everybody's gonna have the same goals. Not everybody really cares to be a billionaire or cares to go to Dubai, drive supercars, and whatever you want to go off on that about. Some people genuinely do just enjoy a comfortable, small, little, just cozy, like homey life, and that's great for them. But for me, I think when I speak on that more specifically, it's if you come to me and tell me you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be in this space and you want to build a business and you want to get out of the 9 to 5, get out of the matrix, whatever you want to call it, and then you sit there and act like all these other just let's say normal people. That's where I have the passion of that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, because even without structure and guidance, if you want to do something bad enough, you can figure it out. And that's another piece of entrepreneurship that people don't understand is nobody is like really here to hold your hand along the way. You're gonna have mentors and you're gonna have again courses and communities and whatever that can help you. But if you really want to do something, um, that is industry disruptive, if you really want to like change the way that business is done in your world, then it's going to take innovation, it's going to take you doing new things, it's going to take new ideas, it's going to take you putting those thoughts and ideas into your systems and processes and into motion. And I think a lot of people just think that these books they read, the courses they take, the people that they're around are a magic pill, and it's just gonna like fall into place for them, and that's just not the case at all. Uh, and so yeah, I think again, and I call it to speak negatively on college is funny too because like I don't. There's definitely certain jobs that I think that requires, and like with my mom being a teacher, I can definitely like kind of see that from a first person point of view. And then think about like God, I wouldn't want somebody like doing surgery on my brain that learned how to do it on Google. You know what I mean? Like, so there's certain occupations and things like that that I think that is necessary. But again, to circle back, if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's not necessarily, to me, in my opinion, the best route to go anymore. Why are you going to go sit in a business class with some lady speaker who's never ran a business?
So do you know Andy Frisella?
The name is super familiar, but I can't think of the face off the top of my head.
75 Hard.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So he's the one who created that. That's something he said that when he was just starting out building his supplement store, he was attending a college class on business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like the first class, he followed the teacher out to his vehicle, and the teacher got in this like beat up, rusted out thing. And he's like, what the? No. He's like, no, I'm not doing it.
I think I have heard this story now.
Yeah. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to figure it out. So
that's funny that you bring that up too, because that's a story that I've told a few times. That was kind of a turning point for me from like my own personal experience of sitting in my intro to business class. And I don't know if I mentioned that like my dad is a portfolio investment officer. So basically, if like someone has money if they want to put in the stock market, he's like their, I guess you could say, like financial advisor in that regard, just with their stock specifically. he's the one actually doing their investments, like handling their money and whatever. But anyways, so with that, like I kind of had an introductory knowledge to stock market and investment and things like that at a young age. And like Roman and I, my CEO, that I mentioned a couple of times, like actually tried to do like options trading and stuff like that while we were in high school. So, you know, we've been there, done that to an extent. And so there was one day we were sitting in class and that was the topic. We were talking about investments in stocks and things. And so I was the type of kid, like I had to have music going in my ear to really be able to like focus and sit still or whatever. And so I would have my headphones on a lot in class. And I started one day getting the packet and I started looking over it and just kind of like filling out the answers that I knew. And then just ended up going like 2, 3, or 4 or 5 pages of notes. And I look up and I maybe have like 2 or 3 questions that aren't answered still, but I look up and we're on like slide 4 of like 25. And so I was kind of just like, what am I doing here? Like why I'm running laps around my teacher right now. Like I don't understand this. And that college was a weird time for me because I mean there was even a point in time at my job there that I was like, I haven't worked for 5 months and I've just doubled all of your guys' numbers on my first shift back at the buckle. And so it's like that's not to toot my own horn in any way, shape, or form at all either. That's just to say that if you are naturally good at something or have a certain talent or skill or knowledge that you know that most people don't have, take advantage of that and like use that to your ability. Don't just like assume that you're still just this mediocre person because like every person has different talents and skills and you know quirks and things like that for a reason. Because I can't do Gavin's job. I could never go sit in the desk and underwrite all day. Like I would lose my mind. But and that's not to say that Gavin couldn't come and do my job. But you know that's why you have a team. That's why you have communities. That's why you have people. That one of my manager Buckle Mel, she poured into us all the time. People need people, and I think that like that stuck with me probably heavier than anything I learned as a kid. Because I mean I know that for me, if I'm going through it, like I go crazy if I'm sitting there in my own head trying to, I guess, like figure out what the problem is. But if I can actually communicate that and talk to you about what the issue might be, I feel a lot better, and I feel like the issue gets resolved a lot quicker. And you don't go through trauma alone. Like you don't go through grief alone. That's why you have family. That's why you have friends. Like that's kind of the whole point.
Dude, so I just had an epiphany. So for me, you know, I'm trying to buy properties. We've talked already. I want to buy properties, but I always get this feeling, and especially when I see like you and Gavin and your team. I haven't really met the rest of your team, but I've talked to you and Gavin.
We'll have to get you introduced for sure. But yeah.
And I always get this feeling like, God, I'm not doing enough. I need to be out there door knocking. I need to be making cold calls and all this stuff, just working my butt off. But I've attempted that.
Right.
I think I would actually be decent at door knocking if I had like somebody to back me up. When I tried it by myself, I was a little like, because like I'm a firefighter. I'm no problem walking up to people's houses. But typically I got 2, 3 other guys with me, and there's a big red truck out in the front yard, and
Right.
you know I'm coming. So
exactly, yeah. Door knocking can definitely be like a lonely and like vulnerable and kind of scary thing, especially when you talk about like door knocking foreclosures in downtown Kansas City. And like we've had guys come back to the office like in tears because of stuff that has like happened to them or like been said to them. And like it's definitely one of those things like I would do it with a group or like as a partner. Like we have a networking event every Saturday, and a couple of times we took like a group of us out there because there is a decent amount of like the younger guys and it's like we'll hang out afterwards. But some of us, like, yeah, we would just go to like a neighborhood and just kind of split up through 3 or 4 blocks and just go out as like groups of 2 and come back. And I don't know if like on those 2 specific occasions anybody ever actually got a lead or a deal, but it's still just like the fact of the repetitions. And then like because we did that, some of the other guys that were involved with us doing that now, like that's like a huge part of their business and their process. And I mean, we've even talked about like making that like a standard of something that you know is almost like a part of like the onboarding process. Of if you want to come be on the team, like we need to see a certain level of dedication and you know because it sucks. You know, door knocking is not fun. It's not sexy work. Nobody's like waking up in the morning like super hyped to go door knocking, but it's something that has to be done, and some people do, but that's why, like, I think if you really, 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 really love door knocking and like pest control or like the like solar, like certain other door to door sales things is definitely like a different route to go, and you can scale a business around that just as much as wholesaling. But yeah, I mean, door knocking is definitely interesting, and I speak on all those things kind of from a third person point of view, just because I'm dispositions. But I've also had to like hop into that seat for a second here and there, and like I've gone obviously acquisitions door knocking before and done foreclosure, like tried to door knock foreclosures. So that's I can kind of speak from experience there. But in terms of just like the overall, I think position of acquisitions, you do have to deal with a lot more people problems than you do in the disposition sense of, you do kind of have to sit and listen to people's stories, and you have to kind of be understanding as to what their wants and needs and concerns may be, and then you do have to kind of like educate them in a sense too if you're doing a sub two deal. And so yeah, there's a lot of like weird pieces on the acquisition stuff that I really don't understand, but yeah.
Well, so that's what I'm saying, is that like this epiphany that I had, right? I have this sense of not doing enough. But one thing I never considered, every time I've thought about what I need to do, I've thought, okay, acquisitions, buying, wholesaling, all these other stuff. I never once considered a disposition role.
Yeah.
This is what I like to do. I like talking to people. And if you're telling me that dispositions, all you do is figure out who the people are, if they can buy this deal or not, that might be the missing link for me. I might be a dispositions person. So then the question is, do I find someone who needs a dispositions manager, or do I build my own team and where I focus on this? That's a topic for another time. But
absolutely,
I appreciate you, brother.
No, for sure, man. Let's see. Yeah, of course, man.
So I know I've taken up so far about 50 minutes of your time.
Good.
And I know you're a busy guy, so if you don't mind, unless you got something else to say real quick, we can jump to the last part.
I've got nothing until 11:30, so I'm good for a minute. But I mean, the only other thing, I guess, just to kind of touch back on like what you just said. I mean, man, no, you're not gonna fit in every role. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to jump into the underwriter seat and do it probably even half as well as Gavin can. And that's again what a team's for. And so if the acquisition side of things doesn't feel like you're really getting the hang of it, because I didn't, to be honest with you. It wasn't something that I really enjoyed. I am not the most empathetic or like patient person in the world, and so that's why I think dispo for me is fun. Is I get to hop around a lot, and I get to do a lot of different things, and I get to meet a lot of different people. And I know you kind of touched on earlier, like what are your strengths and weaknesses, and so I think like I don't know. I think like big thing for me is like I'm a relationship builder. Like you can throw me in the street and send me into a circle of like 10 homeless people, and I'll make friends with all of them if I really want to. And so I'm just really, really, really good at building rapport. I'm very good at figuring out you as a person, being able to connect on not only yes, this is what we have in common in a business perspective, but also on a personal level. And that's what building relationships is. That's how you can have a valuable connection. And I don't know if JJ is Zizian, I'm sure from Sub 2. Yeah. Okay, he's awesome. And so I've hopped into a few of his Zoom calls. I met him at Squad Up as well, and he's been impactful for me along the way. But he said something in one of his Zooms that I don't know if he meant to direct it towards me or not, but he was like, so raise your hand if you think this business, it's majority about who do you know. And so I was like, yeah, for sure. And he was like, well, I see Layne with his hand up, whatever. And he goes, well, I'm going to tell you you're wrong, because it's about who knows you. You can sit there and, ask and ask and ask all these questions about what does this person do. But if you're not like reciprocating the fact that you can also bring value to the table, they're not going to remember who you are when they turn their shoulder and go talk to the next person at that networking event, let alone take the time to reach out to you and figure out what they can do for you as well. And so that's a piece of like I think I sent you one after Squad Up too. That's almost like a standard in our business. Is like every time we go to a networking event, we need to follow up with that person the next day, or at least reintroduce ourselves the next day. Sometimes we'll do like the little quick video of just like, hey, how's it going? Because it's super
I've
personal. They can
started
see your
doing that
face.
since then.
And I've been kind of bad about doing them ever since I did the ones with Squad Up, because that day I was in my hotel room for like 3-4 hours just going through all of my Blink contacts, putting everyone in the CRM, sending all the little videos and stuff. And it was cool because I did get quite a few back, and I had a few people telling me like, this is a good idea. I might start doing these too. You were obviously one of them. But yeah, man, I think it's cool. It's just been such a fun ride so far, and it's only been 8-9 months coming up in August, and so we talk all the time about how it's almost hard to answer the question of like, where do you want to be in a year, 5-10 years from now, because like paces in life and things can change so quickly. And so you may be dead set on one idea, and then a month from now that's not even in the picture anymore. And so yeah, I think
what I've always done in that case, if someone asks me what's your year goal, what's your 5-year goal, is I'll start to say it, or I'll think about what my goal is, and then I'll remember you tend to overestimate what you can do in a year and underestimate what you can do in the long term.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I think as a team, that's something that I'm definitely going to bring back, because I really want to make sure that we all do have concrete, like, what is the vision? What is the goal? What are you doing this for? And that needs to be something that's like embedded into everybody's brains and as a company, as a culture, as a whole. But yeah, man, I think people just like kind of what you said at the beginning. People just got to take action. Like, you just got to be willing to go do the thing. And that's people ask for the secret sauce, or what makes you different? How are you able to do this when I can't? Put the work in. You know what I mean? So
there you go. Well, brother, let's move on to the last few questions I got for you, and then we'll close this thing up. So first off, what made you want to be on the podcast today?
Yeah. Well, obviously we met in Squad Up, and so Gavin mentioned to me that he was going to be on it a while ago, and so I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And so I was really thinking about putting in a little request, but I didn't know how quite how it worked. I didn't know if the link was there to use as like a resource, or if it really was just kind of like, hop on if you want to hop on. And so I was definitely interested in, I think the biggest reason for me really though was any opportunity I can get to have a conversation or build a relationship, whatever, to network with somebody, especially in the sense of, it's going to go to other eyes. Other people are going to see what I'm able to do, what I can help with, what, maybe even work together in one form or another. And so if I have an opportunity to, help people in any way, shape, or form, I'm always there. And so if anybody has like any questions for me, or, any type of, I guess, opportunity at all for me, no matter what, like, do not hesitate to reach out. Instagram is right here. I try to respond to all my DMs most of the time. I get quite a few people that'll send me deals on Instagram and stuff like that. Facebook's kind of a big one too. But yeah, I mean, I'm always here to assist where I can, but that's not to disregard everything I said earlier about, if you come to me and ask for help and I give you help and you don't put the work in and come back and keep asking for the same bits of information, I'm going to get very fed up with you and not continue to work with you. That's what I mean by I'm not the most patient person in the world. But that's not to say that I understand everybody has, their own things going on, and there are certain situations that are super, super hard to work through, especially with a heavy heart, you know what I mean? And so I can't judge anyone for what they may have going on, because I don't know. I don't know what they've been through, right? So yeah, I'm always here to be a lending, helping hand in any way I can. But yeah, I think that was my biggest thing, is to really get not only that point across, but also because I want to do more business. I want people to want me on more podcasts. I want people to want me to try and sell their deals. I want people to want to have calls with me, all of the above. And so I know you've also got a pretty large network, and so I'm, I guess, roundabout hoping that one way or another it'll trickle down, and we'll be able to kind of just continue to bring each other these opportunities and this value. And I know we had a conversation the other day about you wanting to get into buying, I definitely see that as, an exponential thing that's getting ready to happen for you. And I want to be able to be there to provide those deals and help you and raise capital if need be. And, wherever I can help you on the back end. So even just to, get a little bit deeper understanding of what you're wanting to do and, build that relationship with you so that you kind of understand I'm not here to make this huge assignment fee on a deal. I'm here to make a bunch of little assignment fees on a bunch of different deals to help a lot of different people get closer to their goals. And so, yeah, I think that would be kind of the, again, longest possible answer to that question.
All right. So, and I think I'm going to change this one out, but I got to ask it since it's here. Why aren't we already doing business together?
Man, I think realistically, I guess I don't know enough about what you're currently doing. I know we've kind of talked about you kind of transitioning to the buying side of things, and I know we went over your buy box a little bit the other day. So I'm definitely excited to find something for you. And I do need to kind of like refresh myself on my buyers and what's going on my buyers list. And I think I want to kind of implement more of like an update with my buyers list type thing and give kind of an opportunity for, you to see, hey, this is the information I have on you. If any of this is inaccurate or incorrect, correct me on it. If you want me to have any other information, fill me in here. And so with that being said, if you do in the near future, or if you already have one, have like a written out buy box or kind of, I guess, your goals with what you're doing on a document or something like that, like any type of resource that could be beneficial to me in any way, I'm always wanting to take a look at. But I think really the biggest thing is, we do a lot of business in Kansas City. So I couldn't remember, are you based out of Houston?
Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the guys in my office is from Atlanta too. So that's like exactly why not. And so, yeah, I think that would be another reason too, is we're just doing a lot of majority of our business in Kansas City, but we do get stuff out of state. But yeah, if you bring us a deal in Atlanta, we'll get it sold for you.
All right. So you started to touch on it a little bit. What would you say is your main strength?
Man, I think my main strength, aside from just like building relationships, because I feel like that can be very broad, I think my main strength, honestly, like to this day right now, just commonly probably the thing I hear the most in the office, the thing I like witness myself doing the most is just like the energy that I bring. I think it's really, and again, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like it's really hard to be in a room with me and not have a smile on your face. And that's kind of what I want. I've just recently, I think like the last 3 months has just kind of been a big turning point for me as I'm kind of starting to see, the waves that I can make with the opportunities that I have and, the way that I can help people. And I talked about that mindset shift that's kind of gone down. And so I think my biggest strength right now is just the fact that my heart's in the right place. And, I really just want to grow on an individual basis, on a business basis, on a relationship basis with the people in my life. And so, yeah, I think just waking up with a smile on my face and just choosing to be happy, just choosing to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of me, just, being willing to like look past all of the, bullshit that can happen in life. And I think to some people that might sound like, like that's just like, okay, he has a positive mindset or whatever. But then when you really look at like the status of like where our world's at right now, it's so much more common for people to want something negative for everybody around them than opposite. So your greatest strengths are going to change too, right? Like if you're a track athlete, you may be really good at triple jump one year and super good at the 4x1 next year, but like right now, I think my biggest impact, my biggest strength, most value I bring to my team is one, obviously, I'm a pretty good salesman. I'm getting deals sold. I can get a house sold for you. Isn't that 19 to me? That's pretty cool. But yeah, to tie that all together, I feel like it's just coachable and being very easy to work with, and just kind of all of those other little things just as a whole. I think just being a collaborative person, to really just put it into like one term.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then outside of really long explanations, what are your weaknesses?
Weaknesses, man. That's where it gets hard because I don't, I don't know, and it's not like I have a team around me to really be able to Layne, this is and on the disposition sense, you know what I mean? But I would say to not try to go into a super long explanation. I would say my weaknesses are probably just the fact that I do have like some trust issues in a sense. Like I very much like overthink everything that's kind of going on around me. And so I stress myself out in that regard sometimes. But I think I have kind of developed the mindset of shake it off and just do the thing. It doesn't. Stress is for now. Success is for always. And I don't know. I think for me, I just still just trying to overcome certain. I think like self-limiting beliefs that have kind of always been prevalent in my life. So yeah, I think the weaknesses that I really see on a day-to-day basis are um, just the I guess ripple effect of what my old mindset may have been that kind of still is daunting to this day. But
So,
but yeah,
so wait, you said the weaknesses that you see on a day-to-day basis?
yeah. So I guess like
Well,
'cause that's
so
the yeah, trying to like
what I
go
would
to
what
hear
I
it.
would pull from that whole thing, and
Yeah,
my wife likes to call me an armchair psychologist. So, um, sounds like your biggest issue is overthinking.
yeah.
Um,
There's a yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily say that focusing on day to day is congruent with overthinking. A lot of
sure.
times, overthinking will go into, well, if I do this, what are the implications down the road? What am I doing, this for? Blah, blah. Is this even the right thing? That type of thing, right? Whereas when you go more day to day, it can be more, is this the right thing for me to do right now? Yes or no? All right, cool. Let's move on.
Right,
Right? You're focusing on, and maybe that's more present focusing, but regardless.
right.
So, last question for you. What do you need help with that'll make you money in the next 30 days?
Man, I just need as many cash buyers and private money lenders as I can find. I think really that's such a common answer. Everybody's always looking for private money lenders. Everybody's always looking for cash buyers. But really, at the end of the day, that's my piece of the business. And so the only thing that's going to help me, grow and become a bigger disposition business is having more people to sell houses to, having more people to buy houses, having more people to bring me deals. So that too, I would say, yeah, if you have deals, contacts, anything that can be beneficial for us. But to, I guess, break it down to the next 30 days. Yeah, if you've got anything in Atlanta that you wanna get sold and you wanna run a little JV of, that would I think that would definitely make us both some money in the next 30 days.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. You heard it first. If you have money you want to put into a deal, if you're a cash buyer or creative buyer, possibly
Yes, all of the above. Even
anybody.
retail buyers. Even we do like owner finances and stuff too. Like that's we Avenue's just really being built to be a one-stop shop for anything real estate. Um, and that's kind of, I guess, the whole point of building a disposition business, building a capital raising business, building a property management, whatever business under that Avenue umbrella. Because at the end of the day, when branding is the most important thing when it comes to building a huge business. Like you don't walk into an Apple store and expect to go buy a Samsung. You know what I mean? You walk in and expect a certain level of service, a certain level of quality. And so I think the whole point is to just really set the standard of this is what it's going to be like to work with us and be in any type of project with us. And it's supposed to be streamlined, easy, fun in a way too. But obviously we're here to get business done, right? So yeah, I think let's try to, I guess, like circle back to what you were saying. But yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, then lastly, where can people get in touch with you? What's easiest for them or for you?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm big on the social media stuff right now, so I'm really trying to grow my social media, grow my influence as much as possible. I'm really trying to get serious about building content. I'm actually having a meeting with a videographer slash content manager on Sunday. So yeah, I mean my Instagram is going to be the biggest one. I don't know if you put this on like YouTube and whatnot, but I can send you like my Blink card, and then that's got all of my information. And then really, if anybody wants to schedule a call with me, like use my Calendly link, and then it'll take you to a link. It's like a 30-minute thing. And then if we need to go a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, like obviously if it's shorter, then there's not a whole lot of thought that has to go into that. But if we need to talk for an extended period of time, that's what that 30-minute call is for, to kind of have that introduction with me, get to know me, a little bit of everything. But yeah, I would say like the meta services like Instagram, Facebook are going to be the biggest things for me. And then I'll post a lot of like random little things that we do on Facebook, and I try to keep my Instagram story updated as much as possible. So which reminds me, we gotta do this real quick. So I put a I don't even know. I think I put something on here about this the other day, so I had to let everybody know that it happened. Yeah, try to get my phone is being so slow. There we go though. Awesome.
Love it.
All right, man. Well, yeah.
Sweet.
We'll get you a tag.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Well, brother, that's all I got. So I got this for y'all. If you got a deal for Layne, either hit them up on Instagram, or I'm assuming they can email you.
Yeah, you can email me, and then I can throw here. I'll throw this in there too. This is Gavin's email, and so this is actually who's going to, be the first eyes on that deal.
Okay.
He's gonna look at everything.
Here's what we'll do. If you got a deal for Layne, go watch the interview with Gavin, get his info, and then reach out to him. Give you a little.
There you go.
Sweet.
Yep. All your deals, all the buyers, all the capital. There you go, baby. But yeah, Corey, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity letting me on, man. I think this is great. I love what you're doing here, and I can't wait to see you grow this more and more, and kind of continue to build this out to maybe even an in-person type thing, man. I would definitely love to run this back at an in-person type vibe at some point. That would be awesome. I know we want to do a podcast at some point too, but yeah, man, thank you so much. And as always, do not hesitate to reach out if you ever need anything from us at all, or think there's any way we can help or anything, we may bring to you as well. So yeah, man, just thank you so much. I guess enjoy the rest of your day, bro. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna send you to the back and close this thing up.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man.
Well, guys, that's our show. Tell me what you thought of Layne. I thought he was great. Young energy, ready to go, very charismatic. Even if he talks a little long, no problem with that. If I didn't have other appointments to go to, I would sit here and let this thing run. But good guy. Reach out to him, talk to him, learn from him, help him, and make money with him. That's what I'm going to say. So, guys, if you like this show, like and subscribe. But again, I really shouldn't have to tell you that. If you actually like this, you should have already liked and subscribed. So, regardless, appreciate you guys. Until next week, peace be with you, and have a wonderful week.